Hello and welcome to another Beers with a Miner audio blog. This week is episode number 40. Not everyone is cut out to be a miner, but why not? What does it take to thrive and survive in this industry? What's it really like? Listen in as I read and then discuss blog posts from the madmumsy.com website. Well, welcome to this week's episode. I'm going to talk about listening choices on mine sites. We spend a long time at work. Personally, I do 13-hour shifts and I'm on a 7 on 7 off roster, straight through, no jammy day. That's pajama day for those who don't know, where you start on days, finish on nights or vice versa. But we do 7 straight through. I'll just let you know I came off 7 night shifts this morning. I did have a bit of a nana nap this afternoon, so I'm feeling pretty good. And I thought I'd crank out this podcast for you while I'm at home in my little studio. It's not the one I was going to do in my shed. I haven't quite got to that one yet. But this is another one, and I'm using my new H4n Pro recorder, and I've got a bit of a better setup, so hopefully you'll notice the audio quality is improving this year as we move forward. So the crew where I work has been complaining, and me too, about the radio station lately, and it got me thinking. So I did what Mad Mumsy does, and I put pen to paper in between getting loaded in my truck and writing notes up the ramp on my hand as I thought of things to add to my article. And it's going in the next Shift Miner magazine, which should be out soon. Have a look in your camp, or you can subscribe to them online, Shift Miner magazine. I'll add a link in the show notes. The show notes for this can be found at madmumsy.com/beers40, the number 40. I have to write these articles for Shift Miner, and I started thinking about this because it was becoming an issue, and we'll go into it, but I thought it'd be a good topic for the podcast as well, so you can get an idea of what you're in for if you perhaps are still trying to get your dream job in the mines. And if you are, stay to the end of this podcast episode because I've got some news that might help you. Or if you're an old-time miner, maybe you've been doing it for 20, 30 years, thank you so much for listening. What's it like at your site? Can you get all the radio stations, or do you just get one or none, or what do you do, So we'll delve into that. So what I'll do is I'll read the article and then have a bit of a chat, and I've got a couple of things I want to cover at the end, so I won't rave on about it too much, but it might get us thinking. So let's dig in. Get it? Dig. Mining. Crack me up. I'll do that one again. It sounded a bit shit. Actually, I'll open a beer. Beer goes down well after night shift. I did wake up this afternoon and it was probably about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and normally I'd start having a beer by then, but I thought, I think I need a cup of tea. So I had a cup of tea, then I had a beer. Okay, you ready? My favourite sound in the world. Open a can of Forex Gold. So we'll try that again. Now, let's dig in. Get it? Dig? Mining? Crack me up. Oh, that's a bit small, that article there. We'll just zoom her up. So, I haven't read this for a while. Because the Shift Miner had a bit of a delay this month. So if you're looking for it on site, make sure you go and ask. Go and ask in the office, where's the Shift Miners? Because they're good to have. Take them out of the crib, spread them around. They've changed size now, so they're a bit smaller as well. A bit more user-friendly. Although you definitely need your glasses. But like I say, you can also register with them online. Okay, let's get into this article about listening choices on site. Hang on, just have a drink. That was more like a skull, sorry. We do long shifts, up to 13 hours for many days and nights in a row. Lately, Mad Mumsy has been hearing a lot of whinging about radio stations repeating the same 10 songs. I mostly listen to USBs full of podcasts and a few favourite tunes, but many don't do this yet. The site where you work determines the availability of choice. Do they have repeaters? Are they set on one station, or are you lucky enough to have multiple choices? A few stations are dedicated to us miners. Moranbah Community Radio does a fantastic job. Miners Overnight was a good one, but it seems to have stopped now. A Google search shows Red FM are huge in WA, and Macquarie Network's mining radio are quite widespread, but I haven't heard of them. Have you? If you only have one station chosen for you, Groundhog Days become even more intense. My crew have started learning Spanish because of a song being thrashed now. Hey ya! Okay. If I find it, I'll add a little bit, although I might get in trouble, so I won't. But you'll know the one. I can't sing, I can talk, so I won't even try. Anyway, back to the article. We understand they are national franchises and must cater to the morning drive shows, lunchtime, then the drive home, and the obligatory comedy duos in the afternoons and party hits on the weekends. But they all play the same top few songs daily, all bloody week. On weekends, some stations replay conversations and callers from the weekly shows. We started counting how many times we heard a lady talking about her dog's antics. Really? Can't weekend talk hosts? Can't weekend hosts talk about something else? Oh, and whilst I'm on a roll, what about Friday is always nearly the weekend, Wednesday is hump day, and everyone's got the Monday blues? It was fair enough for the real job peeps, but at least recognise shift workers occasionally, especially a station that's catering to a mining town. What about the adverts? OMG, I refuse to go to a certain tile shop because of the constant thrashing of annoying adverts. Frankly, I feel brainwashed and I hardly even listen because I'm listening to podcasts. This has a lot to do with why not. Discussing this at the crib hut, one fella said, if I had to listen to the ABC all day, I would kill myself. Well, that's what made me, just getting away from the article for a minute, that is what made me go, right, I have to write this article. Back to the article. Oh, wow, that was a shock to me as I love the ABC and we can't get it. Macca on Sunday morning. Macca in the morning turns your life around. He picks you up when I feel down. I wait all week for Macca on a Sunday morning. Oh, sorry, I sung. The Conversation Hour, which is, digressing again, the Conversation Hour with Richard Fidler is actually one of the first podcasts, I do believe, in Australia, where they made it available and you can listen to them. And he's a great interviewer. That if you haven't listened to them at 11 o'clock on a Monday to Friday or in your favourite podcast app, the Conversation Hour is awesome. And he'll interview someone and you go, I don't really, know that I want to listen to this story about whatever the introduction is. You think, that's totally opposite me, but it's an hour-long conversation, much like my conversations tend to be. Not audio blogs, sorry, so I'll try to keep this short. But he really delves in and the story goes on so many levels. That one sentence at the start, the hook to try and get us to listen, sometimes it just doesn't justify it. It's like a book, reading the back of a book doesn't mean diddly squat really as to what the book could be. So, or movie even, trailers, sometimes they show you all the good bits in the trailer and the rest of the movie was crap. So yes, I recommend the Conversation Hour. Anyway, back to the article. So Macca on a Sunday morning, I may remove that singing in editing. The Conversation Hour on the ABC. Footy, This isn't making sense. I've got to go back to the start of the sentence now without interrupting. Macca on Sunday morning, the conversation hour, footy, the Ashes in England in the wee hours of night shift. I have worked at a site that you could pretty much pick up most stations which were saved in the stereos of the trucks, or listen to your USB of choice. A happy medium for us all. The real miner says, I'm too busy. When I'm a sunshine miner on the surface I listen, but not underground, no radios. Recently I was contacted by someone about having my Beers with a Miner podcast episodes on a new mining radio network. Oh dear, that freaked me out to think a crew would have to listen to Mad Mumsy instead of downloading onto USB on break and choosing to listen. Maybe if it's only in WA, I could handle that. And cheers, Mad Mumsy. So that's my article. I only get I'm supposed to have about 350 words. I think I've spoken about this before with Shift Miner because, you only get so much space. I think the first time I wrote this was about 1,500 words, and that was when I decided, no, I'll make this a podcast. I hope that gives you a bit of an idea of what I'm trying to highlight here is it's a big part of our mindset. Some people don't even ever turn the radio on. They just sit there in their truck in silence with just the two-way, and they're usually the people that drive cranky dozer drivers who are in a truck seem to be the ones most common that do that. Like, man, you got a magazine? Oh, there might be one in the truck to read. Plan ahead. Don't even get me started on that. But, I like to listen to something. Of course, you turn it down when you need to listen to the two-way more, or I don't know if it's I don't want to say it's a woman thing, but it's something that I've always done, even in my car. If I'm driving along and I'm coming up to a busy intersection or something's happening or I don't know where I'm going, I always turn the radio down. Do you do that? I like to think. I need to concentrate, and I do that in my truck all the time. It's a good arm workout because it's quite a way up in the truck. In our trucks anyway, the AM, FM are up high, and the mine two-ways down low, so you're always up, down, but it's the right hand to balance out. What? I believe it's good to have a lot of choices, and, some days I want to listen to music, not very often. For me, it's more of a treat to listen to music. But a couple of day shifts ago when I wrote this article, that's when I was listening to the radio quite a bit. And it made me realise why I don't listen to the radio, because it's the same songs, the same adverts. And then this particular station we have to listen to, they keep playing the same bloody snippets of the morning show or the afternoon show or the comedy, said duo on the weekends. Well, we heard it all week, mate. I can see both sides of the story, which was part of my discussions with a couple of crew members, Old mate who said get rid of it. Hang on, I'll have a drink. That's why I did it, because I needed it. Old mate who said that he would kill himself if he had to listen to the ABC. He was the one who pointed out to me about that they're national and they have to play the top songs and all of that. And I thought, oh, yeah, I know, I get it. But it doesn't help. So that's why USB is a good choice, because when you're over the radio, you can do that. Or the other night, what was on? A while ago, State of Origin was on, because we're in Queensland, boo, New South Wales. So we got the electricians to turn the repeater over to the ABC, and it was awesome. I wanted them to leave it on, leave the ABC, but no, it didn't stay long. And then another time in the past, over the years, they've changed it to some random, what was it, Rebel FM or something. Well, all the old timers didn't like that. And then someone else wants Triple J, which is ABC, but it's more alternative for those overseas listeners who don't know any of these channels, I do apologise, but you would realise that wherever you live, there's all different genres, you know. If you can have a choice, you're in a perfect world. And that might be something that you can add into when you decide about changing jobs, you know. What radio stations do they have? So, yeah, I have found it good when you're on night shift. They have the ABC. This one place I worked, you could pick up all the radio stations because we weren't too far from a town, so that wasn't too bad. And that's where I was listening to the Ashes test on night shift, which was freaking awesome. I listened to it all night, loved it, you know, and getting paid to listen because I had to be awake anyway. But on normal nights when the Ashes wasn't on, well, it didn't start till after midnight or something anyway, but they have talkback radio, what do they call them? Like the quiz, talkback radio and stuff, and these people ring up and it's quite funny. And then the people on crew were talking about, oh, did you hear that lady ringing up? She was drunk for sure, you know. You get all sorts of people calling in at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, and then there was that Miners Overnight, which I mentioned in the article. I was listening to that when I was working in northwest Queensland. So I think it was run out of Alice Springs, and you could ring up or send a message or something, or an email maybe. I can't remember, it's years ago now. And you could send out like a shout out, well, what do you call it? A shout out to someone on your crew. So after I left that place, I went on and I said, oh, because I didn't get to say goodbye, you know, I got my job and split while we were on break, so I didn't really get to say goodbye to too many people. And, you know, people ring up and say funny things, and yeah, it's pretty cool. But when I Googled it for this article, I couldn't really find it anymore, so I'm not sure if it's still going. Moranbah Community Radio, I have listened to that a few times and they're doing a great job. And I know one old miner who plays some really old songs, which was cool. And yeah, a good cross section of everything, and I did enjoy that. Again, in the Google search, it showed that Red FM in WA were quite big, and Macquarie Networks Mining Radio. So I haven't heard of them. They must be in WA, as you know. Perhaps you're a first-time listener, but I am Queensland-based. But I have many people, including my sister, Blister, Hard Hat Mentor, shout out. She is in WA, so, and has been for a few decades. So I'm all over it, but focus mainly on that. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that, I guess. The real miner, well, underground, they don't listen to the radio, really, just each other. Another reason not to do it. So, yes, a good reason, listening to podcasts. So download when you're on break to all the ones you haven't listened to, not just mine, or whatever ones that you find that you like, and put them in your truck or whatever machine you're operating, whatever you're doing out there. And just have it in your pocket. Put some music on there as well, People at work, they're always swapping their USBs around and downloading it onto their computer, and then they listen. I'll put it onto their USB, copy it and stuff like that. So sometimes you need a really good section. I've spoken about this before in Don't Become a Brain Dead Truckie episode, I think. But, having a good cross-section, because you're there, say you're there for 7 or 14, some people are doing, or depending what you're doing, 13-hour shifts, you end up getting sick of your own songs, your own favourite songs, or your own favourite podcasts. Now for a word from our sponsor. Welcome Julia Hartman and the Bantax Accounting Group to Team Mad Mumsy. Julia is my awesome accountant.
She has written 2 books with financial expert Noel Whittaker and has a passion to help us miners make the most out of our hard-earned cash. Head to bantax.com.au/miners. That's BANTACS to download your free miners booklet and a spreadsheet that will help you calculate the weight of your tools you need for your job. Why, you ask? Well, you might be able to hitchhike a ride with them and claim your trips to work. Sounds confusing? Not at all. Just head over to bantax.com.au and let Julia and the team help you out. You will also find loads of free information and advice on property investing if you plan to really do some great things with your money. Again, that's bantax.com.au/miners and tell them Mad Mumsy sent you.
At the start, I promised some news if you're new to the mining game. I have been busy putting together an online course for you. It's called Pounce, How to Get Ahead of the Pack When You're a Greenie with no experience looking for a start as a dump truck operator. It's based mainly in Queensland, but of course a lot of the tips can be used, so check that out. So where the course is sitting is in a place called mining.teachable.com, which is an online school, although I'm not a real fan of the word school because it's not like, I don't know, it just sounds weird, a mining school. But I'm calling an online hub that I've set up. And so that's where the Pounce course is. It's free to join the online school, and you just sign up to Teachable. It's free, and if you come across any other Teachable courses, well, you'll already have a Teachable account, and they're amazing amazeballs software platform. If you're a course creator, that's where you need to be. They are huge. So that's how I've been very busy putting all of this together for you, and pretty much it was going to be an ebook, but it still might be an ebook as well. But to be able to have the opportunity within the courses that I'm creating to have audio, you can have video, you can have text and hyperlinks off to the links of all the things that you're talking about, as well as all my lovely tips and stuff. So hopefully you'll find it very helpful. And another thing that I've set up there, another free course, you can listen to the podcast. That's a course in itself. So all the podcasts are also available in the school. And I've set up a glossary with mining terms. And I was doing this for the Pounce course as part of in the resources section at the end there, because if you're new to mining, you don't understand a lot of terms, which is what the feedback I get about the podcast actually is when I'm interviewing another miner, or even, I guess, just sometimes the way I talk, how helpful it is to listen to miners talk about mining, and it's another language at times. So I started this glossary in the resources section, and I thought, well, I could put this in a course as well, separate, So I've done all the, I don't know, it's a growing list because it's like a language, so it's ongoing. So I've got your standard SSE, PPE, OCE, JSA, all the normal boring terms that once you're in mining you're going to hear over and over. But you do need to know what they are, and it's a little bit of a heads up, especially before you have an interview or something. One of the questions someone I know had is, do you know what PPE is? And she knew, because she knew me, and I was always banging on about it. But just in case you don't know, PPE is personal protective equipment. So it's all your safety shit, glasses and hard hats and gloves and high-vis clothes. But there's a whole new other language that you might not know at all. and I started writing a few down, and I did see I talk about this in the course itself, how it came about, I think, at the start there. But I seen it in a social media group that I'm in about mining, and someone asked for some mining terms, and people were saying all these funny ones. It was hilarious, and I added that's a carton, and people were liking that, and it got me thinking that there's a lot of other terms other than all those boring ones. So I set it up, and at this point I'm calling it Mad Mumsy's Giggle Glossary, because some of them are quite funny, they're quite rude, and there have been a couple of extremely perhaps politically incorrect and racist ones. There's two that I just said, no, I'm not putting. I refused to put that in, because I started asking around my mates, and they were calling me up and telling me, oh, you got to write that one down, and then just for a whole few days I started listening to what was being said when you're at the dump, when you're at the digger, when it's time to park up, when we have shift change, what's getting said in pre-start. So, like I said, it is a growing list. It's a lot of fun, and hopefully it will help you, and it's free. It's also part of the Pounce course, but this little section is free. So I'm looking at doing it as a podcast. I'll sit down with someone, probably Mad Baz, I reckon, my stepdad, because he'd be funny, and we'll go through, not all of them, because we might be there for a week, but just have a chat. And because there was some that come up that I hadn't heard from my crew, but they kind of meant the same thing in a different way, you know. So I've written down a couple here just to give you a bit of an idea. But and also, before I go into it, some of them the crew said are just Australianisms, but I've chosen to add them because they're Australianisms, if that's even a word, but they are used in I explain how they're used in a mining context, if that makes sense. So, like that's a carton probably isn't just in mining, you know. It might be in all sorts of things. And we'll start off with that one. So that's a carton means if you do something wrong, you stuff up, or you owe a carton of beer. And depending where you work, whether they actually enforce it, or we have carton parties every 3 months. Sometimes, as Lynn Olsen in one of the episodes, I'll link to it in the show notes for this, madmumsy.com/beers40, the number 40. She said they used to have heaps of cartons every Friday night back in the day when she was working over in WA. See, that's another reason why I know about WA, because my mum worked over there too. What about getting a pineapple? Oh, that's a carton, that's pineapple. Or you're going to get a pineapple. Well, in mining, a pineapple means you're in trouble. And because the pineapple's going in not very nice places and it's prickly, you know. It's not nice cut up for your convenience at Coles. Oh, I haven't thought of that one before. Yeah, so it's, you know, pineapple straight off the bush. Being stimulated, well, that's going in the simulator machine. That's a bit boring, really, but yeah, that's getting stimulated. Coming across your face. You know, when guys say that, you think, ew. But that just means they're driving in front of you in their dozer, usually. A dozer driver says that. Or a dozer driver who's driving a truck will say it. And there's many more. It's just never ending. So, as I say, some of them may offend, but if you're warned, and I have got a warning at the start of the course. So that's free, and it's part of this online hub, the school, which you can get to by heading to mining.teachable.com and sign up for free. Now, before I close, nearly done, promise, just have a drink, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my number one fan on Twitter, Driller Rick. He's awesome. Thanks, Rick, for liking every tweet that I put out there, and we've had a couple of messages, private messages, and he's retweeted some of them, and I asked him to come on the podcast. He was a bit like, oh, I don't know about that, but I think we are going to sit down, finally. We're getting closer to making a time when he's working up in our area, and I'm looking forward to having a beer and digging into your mining journey soon, Rick. So thanks for being such a great supporter. It's awesome. Cheers. And also hello to Tristan, who last I knew, which was just before I started night shift last week, was up to episode 16, bearing in mind this is number 40, so he might not hear this for a long time. He reached out to me this week after I mentioned about being a red belt in Taekwondo, and I can't even remember what episode it was, but I was talking about when I was a red belt and going for my black belt. And he reached out to say good day because of that story, and that he too was a red belt in Taekwondo. It was a really nice finish to what had been a shitty day up until then, and to have such great feedback and to know that you're enjoying the podcast and you're trying to get into mining. So good luck on your journey. I see that you have come across and joined the mining school, so be sure to sign up for the courses as well. It's don't just go to the school, which is awesome, but get back to it when you can, guys, and go through the content that I've actually put there. That'd be awesome. So in closing, if you haven't left a review on iTunes, oh, well, did you know? Big news. iTunes is now called Apple Podcasts. Well, the podcast part of iTunes. iTunes is, Apple were having a bit of a restructure there. iTunes is mainly for music and movies, and Apple Podcasts is for, oh, you guessed it, podcasts. So that's, they're really trying to encourage us to let you all know, or to let you know, that Apple Podcasts, that's what they want them to be called. So it sounds all right. They've got a new app out when they updated to iOS 11, and that's what it's called, Apple Podcasts. So check it out. And if you haven't already, I'd love you to please subscribe. Then you'll never miss an episode. And if, like Rick and Tristan, you're enjoying the podcast, please take a minute, leave a review, star rating, whatever you think, but it helps to get the word out and other people to know about the podcast. And I read them all. I actually have a, what is it? I don't know, some bit of software that I had to have that sends me monthly all the reviews from every country, because to read them, if you're listening overseas, you'll know that I'm definitely going to get it, because I'll leave a link to it. I think it's My Podcast Reviews, I think it's called. It's free. And you can, if you want, say iTunes and Apple Podcasts, I'd have to go to each country separately to read my reviews, whereas with this service, it gives you all of them from all of the countries, which is pretty freaking awesome, I reckon. So thank you in advance. Thanks for listening right to the end. I really do appreciate you. And now it's time for me to go to bed after finishing my night shift this morning. I did have my nana nap, which helped, and a couple of beers, and it will be nice to finally curl up in my bed. It's, if you are working in the mines already, or you're working away, you'll know what I mean, that feeling of going, I'm home. And even better, waking up tomorrow morning. You don't have to go to work, and you're in your own bed. You don't even have to drive anywhere. It's freaking awesome. Best feeling ever. That and rain on the roof when you are meant to be going to work. Okay, I'll shut up. Until next week, stay safe, be real, be special, and have fun. For we only live once. Cheers.